you, how many roster spots would you say could be determined?
For Thursday, there's still plenty to discuss and all that. I don't want to put a number on it because everything's still fluid. So to give you a number, that wouldn't be fair.
Choosing the defensive players. I mean, obviously you've got to work with Kyle, but when it comes down to it, kind of where are you in that process?
John and Kyle do a great job, including everybody in that whole process. But they listen to our opinion, and I do believe they do take our opinion seriously. But in the end, it always comes back down to them.
Last time we spoke, we talked about the depth that you have in a defensive line. In general, you said it's a good problem to have. I wanted to ask specifically about the edge rusher position. It seemed that you guys got a ton of contributions from Aaron, from Elvis, and from Eric on Sunday. In that position, when you have so much production from those guys, is that a chance for you to mix and match them at other positions as well to make sure they all see the field?
It is a good problem. We feel like we have 3 to 4 pretty good edge rushers. We've got 3 to 4 pretty good inside rushers with Solomon, Eric again, and Buck being on the inside. But to try to mix and match and just make sure that they're in the greatest position they can be in to showcase their skill. You never want to put someone somewhere just for the sake of putting them somewhere. It's our job as coaches to always find the best spot for them that can showcase their ability. And the hard part is trying to find a way to get them all on the field at the same time.
You just mentioned Eric in with the interior rushers. So is he kind of a guy that you look at with the ability to do both, including that Leo position?
For us with Eric, the way we see him is he's an outside guy and base downs, run situations, 50-50 calls. And his greatest strength as a pass rusher will be inside on third down in our vision. Will you see him outside? I think so. You could see him outside too, because he does have that flexibility where he can do both. His greatest pass rushing strength, in our opinion, would be inside.
Robert, I can't imagine that Navarro Bowman likes coming off the field. So what's it like when you have to tell him that, whenever a 6th DB comes in there, that he's coming off?
That won't be all the time. It's preseason. Wanted to try some new things. Another opportunity to get the rookie some reps. Thought the package looked cool. Could easily be Bowman in there. Could be Ruben. They could rotate. But again, it's our job to make sure that we get the best 11 on the field at all times. And yeah, he's a major competitor. And at halftime, he was giving me some good ideas of how to make that thing evolve even more. So I love Bowman, and so that is not something that is set in stone.
Is that dime package, is that something that you plan to feature a lot? I mean, is it opponent, kind of depending on who the opponent is?
It does. It's more of a, again, I say this a lot up here, but it's not an indictment on any of the linebackers as much as it is a testament to Tart, who's a pretty darn good football player, and it's our job to try to find a way to get him onto the football field so our matchups are clean.
Passing situations, do you want Buckner, Armstead, and Thomas on the field together, or do you envision rotating them in the interior?
That would be a week-to-week thing. I think we had them all on the field at the same time this past week, trying to work a spinner deal. That could pop up easily during the season. So it's all week-to-week to try to put our guys in the best position so they can be successful.
Is he calling signals too?
Yeah.
So he's got green dot.
Only one person can have so he'd have to get signaled in.
How did Tart do at free safety in the game?
He did good. Tart has been performing very well over the course of the preseason and since he's come back from his injury, and he's deserved every right for us to really think hard on ways to try to find a way to get him on the football field.
Can you tell much in these practices how sharp Jimmy Ward is coming back from basically a month off?
I go off the trainers. He looks good to me, but I know there was something with pregame, but from all indications that I've received that he's good to go and he's still on course.
So did he practice at all last week?
He had individual with Coach Hafley, and he looked good during individual. He's just got to get his wind back, and he's got to get conditioned again. But he's a very smooth athlete. So
can you tell if he's on point mentally, knowing
I trust he's on point. There's still stuff that he's going to be have to clean up, but he's been doing everything he can from a mental standpoint to prepare himself.
The defense gave up a high completion percentage, but not many long passes. Were you pleased with that? Is that the design of the defense?
You know, it is. If you look at everyone who runs our system, 65% completion percentage, 60 to 65%. That's throughout the entire. That's Seattle, Jacksonville, Atlanta. It was probably a little too high. You'd like our guys to compete a little bit more on some of those comebacks, but the little 5-yard throw is not going to kill us. That's kind of the design of the defense.
A lot of the players have said that's what they like about his defense. Not a lot of play calls, maybe 10 or 12 at the most. Does much change then with the start of the regular season? Does it much more get added? I mean, is it just kind of
no?
So for the defense, it's pretty much been the same all preseason.
Yeah, there's more awareness. There's more things that we'll do from a coaching standpoint to help our players prepare. But it still comes down to running, hitting, and playing with great vision and being violent on the football field.
Those two plays, the pass plays, the one Richard and then Akello. Are your corners taught on those balls to go for the hands or to get their head around and try to find the ball?
Depends on the position they're in. So if you look at Richard, he was in a trail position. So right there, you're thinking chest to chest, hands to hands. If he's in lead position, he can turn back and try to find the football. So if you look at Richard, he was in trail. Akello was in the same position, and young guy kind of got caught in the moment. Then he needs to stay composed, understand his technique, work chest to chest, go hands to hands, and I feel like he would have been in good shape.
So both of those plays, they shouldn't have been. They did what they were supposed to do as far as not turning around to look for the ball.
Correct.
You said a couple of times, all gas, no brakes, extreme violence are your mantras, but that probably doesn't mean much if you don't have the players who have a certain degree of intimidation. Do you feel like Ruben Foster and Eric Reed give that to your defense? Felt like they're kind of going back and forth with some really decent-sized hits on Sunday.
You know, Austin Calitro, he had one. It doesn't get as much fanfare, because it happened in the fourth quarter. But I don't think it takes. I think it's mindset. I think every player is gifted, can be gifted with that mindset to just go straight all gas and have that intent to physically impose your will on another human being. That's mindset. That's not skill. And so going to those two who are physically gifted and who have that mindset, those are things that you can see on tape, and we feel like our scheme allows them the freedom to be able to play in that style.
Those tone-setting type plays, especially the first snap of the game goes from -5. Reed had a couple of third-down stops that were fairly emphatic.
I believe it is. You look at the course of a breakdown when offenses are watching whether they're 4, 5, 6 game breakdown. If you're putting 6 to 7 clips of that, you figure there was 3 in the first half. Throw 3 more on in the second half, that's 6. And over a 5-game breakdown, there's 30 shots. I promise you the other team is noticing that, and they enter the game looking for those big hits. And if they're looking, I don't think those drop passes Minnesota had was a coincidence. I think the tone was set early. There's traffic. Drop passes happen. That's also part of the system. Those are things that we count on. Break concentration, because you are trying to keep your head in the swivel. And as long as we can keep that moving and keep that going in the direction which it felt real good on Sunday, I feel like we'll accomplish what we're trying to get done.
So you mentioned Bowman talking about how the evolution of, I don't know if you're just talking about the dime package or other packages, but did his suggestion involve him being in the packages?
Oh yeah, Bowman's awesome, man. I'm telling you, he's every day he impresses me. The way he works, the way he takes care of his body, the way he operates day to day. There's a reason why he is who he is, and the reason why he's had so much success. And I would expect nothing less from him to want to be on there. So it's and again, we just got to be creative and try to find a way. We have a good problem. So.
I think the subtext of all this, hey, he's coming off in dime, is he's 29, he's had 2 major leg injuries, so he can't cover anymore.
No, he can cover. He covered against Kansas City, he covered against Denver. He's like I said, we wanted to. It was more of a testament to Tart and try to get him on the football field. And third preseason game, there's wasted reps if you look at it. But could you still see that same group, Carolina? You could Could you see it with Bowman? You could. It just depends on the things that we need to do to put our guys in best position to be successful.
So you mentioned when Malcolm got hurt that Ruben just needed reps. But now that a few weeks have passed, where are you at in terms of how he's developed within the system and his grasp of the defense? Particularly, I mean, I would assume that he's not going to play a bunch on Thursday.
For a rookie, I feel like he's in a pretty good spot. There's still a lot more he can learn. There's still a lot of detail that he needs to master, especially fundamentally. But if you can run and hit, you can disguise a lot of flaws. And Ruben can run and hit. So
Back to the depth along the defensive line. I know DeForest played something like 1,000 snaps last year. Do you have a number in mind that's like kind of a limit that you would ideally want your defensive linemen to cap out on this year?
You know, I'm glad you asked that, because sometimes you get caught. I don't want to put a number on it. We have a vision of what we'd like to see, but sometimes you get into a pickle. And so like for DeForest, there's so many injuries a year ago that they were probably stuck playing him, and so it just wasn't an ideal situation for the year, especially with all the injuries they suffered. If you look at the history of our system, Seattle, Jacksonville, I'll go through it, but the year we won the Super Bowl in 2013, I think Michael Bennett had 650 snaps. You want to minimize the amount of snaps they take, and the more bodies you have, the more you utilize them, so that way they can be fresh and you can come at them in waves. And to put a number, I can't put a number on it, but I think in Jacksonville we had 8 D linemen or 6 or 7 D linemen. I can't put a number on it, but around 500 to 700 snaps.
Okay.
So you want to get guys working and keeping each other fresh, complementing each other's games, where a guy like Tank is a great complement to a guy like Solomon because they're so different. A guy like Buckner and whoever ends up complimenting him. So it just keeps on going all the way through that process. So that's the vision. You'd love to have it work out that way, but there's some things that might be out of your control once the season starts rolling.
Couple more.
What did you see from Aaron Lynch as the game was winding down?
Wow, one more time, I'm sorry.
What did you see from Aaron Lynch as the game was winding down?
I saw a guy who was exhausted and fighting. You know, that was the cool thing about Aaron. He checked his ego at the door. He was fighting his tail off, and son of a gun, that little quarterback, he just kept running. But Aaron created a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and you know, I was impressed with how hard he fought, especially in the fourth quarter.
What do you like about the Dakota Watson?
His speed. He's got great speed off the ball, and that speed isn't anything if you don't have power to go with it. And so he can convert his speed to power, get underneath the pads of an offensive tackle, and really collapse the pocket. So from that part, I also like the fact that teams do have to respect his speed. So it does, when he does get off the ball, it does create space for the inside guys who we feel are very, very talented. So if you have a guy who can create space on the inside just by his speed, then you have a chance to create pocket push, collapse the pocket, and guys winning.